being the operative word. Pa, 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 pa. Gar waited impatiently. They'd accelerate once he passed overhead, get right behind him, rise to periscope depth, take one firing observation, and shoot. He had done this 3 times since taking command, and so far he had never missed. He was, of course, fully aware of how nervous this made his whole crew. If that single torpedo did miss, and the destroyer's lookout saw its wake slicing alongside from astern, she'd immediately roll depth charges right into the Dragonfish's face. Pa, 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 pa. Down, Doppler. Bearing 055, the soundman in the conning tower reported, the relief audible in his voice. The destroyer was headed away from them. Everyone strained his ears to detect any noises indicating the Jap had rolled depth charges, but all they could hear was those screw beats, steady at about 12 knots based on turn count in the away direction. Okay, Gar thought. Time to kill this hood. All ahead 2/3, he ordered, and come right to 055. He saw the exec let out another deep breath. 8 knots was just about their top speed underwater, and they would entirely deplete the battery in less than 1 hour if they kept that up. Both of them scanned the array of instruments and gauges all around them in the control room. Gar felt the sudden surge of power as Dragonfish heeled into her turn. Control was, as usual, crowded and tense. The air was filled with the haze of diesel fumes and human sweat, mixed with a faint tinge of ozone as the batteries dumped amps. I'm going up, he told the exec. Diving officer, bring her to periscope depth, handsomely, please. Once he had climbed up into the conning tower, he told the torpedo officer to make ready tubes 1 and 2. The attack team seemed steady, especially now that the tin can above had gone past them without loosing a barrage of 500-pound depth bombs. The deck sloped upward as the Dragon rose to periscope depth. The conning tower was under red light conditions, just like control. It was dark outside, and Gar needed his eyes to be night-adapted once he raised the scope. Con was even more crowded than control. Passing 200 feet, the diving officer reported from down below. All ahead 1/3. The helmsman acknowledged the order. Leveling at 100 feet, called the diving officer. It wasn't very hard for Gar to keep a picture of this tactical plot in his mind. Pausing the ascent was standard procedure. The last thing they wanted was for the boat to punch through periscope depth and broach in full view of the destroyer's after lookouts. He should be about 800 yards in front of us now, Gar thought, well within visual range, even though it was past sunset. Assuming you had the time, it was always best to stabilize and trim her at 100 feet, then rise slowly to periscope depth. Sound, confirm bearing? Mushy bearing 059er, Captain. Plus or minus 5 degrees. I'm listening through his wake. 059er, aye. Helmsman, come right to 059er. Indicate turns for 3 knots. Sound, watch that Doppler carefully. Sound, aye. The Doppler, or pitch of the audible screw beats, was a critical indication. Down Doppler meant that the destroyer was going away from them. Up Doppler meant the opposite. Steady Doppler meant he was broadside to them and thus probably turning around. They waited. Steady at periscope depth, the diving officer called. Indicating turns for 3 knots and steady on 059er, the helmsman reported. Gar went to the periscope well. You ready? He asked the attack team. We have a solution, the operations officer replied. Up scope, Gar ordered. This will be a firing observation. The electro-hydraulic motors down in control whined as they sent the attack scope up to the surface, with Gar hunched over the eyepiece handles like a monkey as it rose, all elbows and